discovering my son alone in the hospital. An incredible, heartwarming fight for life that changes everything. The phone rang, slicing through the calm of my Saturday evening like a shattered glass. My heart raced as I answered. "Sarah, it's Emily, it's Tyler. There's been an accident." A chill clenched my gut and my breath caught. I dropped everything and raced out the door, the world becoming a blur of colors and sounds. A car crash. My son, my sweet Tyler, who worked after school at the diner, dreaming of becoming a doctor one day. When I arrived at the hospital, the fluorescent lights hummed ominously. Fear tightened around my chest as I rushed down the sterile hallway. The stark smell of antiseptic filled the air, an unyielding reminder that this could become a nightmare. The nurse's face was grave as she led me to a small room. I hesitated, my heart thundering in my ears. Then I pushed the door open. There he was, my boy, lying still on the bed, bandages wrapped tightly around his head, a stark contrast against the dull white sheets. Machines beeped rhythmically, each sound pulling at my heartstrings. Tears stung my eyes and I quickly blinked them away as I rushed to his side, grasping his hand. Despite the cold hospital setting, I felt warmth radiating from him. Alive. He was here. Against all odds. Memories flooded my mind uninvited. The long nights I had spent juggling multiple shifts, the dreams I shelved, all for him. It was so easy to forget the sacrifices when times were good. But now, as I sat there feeling a tidal wave of emotions, the weight of our financial struggles crashed down on me. Why had life felt so unfair? My head spun as the nurse brought me updates on Tyler's condition. Each complication revealed felt like a knife twisting in my heart, suffocating me with worry. How much more can he endure? I thought, the reality of our situation settling in. I was a single mother in this small Midwestern town, and while the community knew us, they didn't know our struggles. Judgments were often masked with kindness, but sincerity felt rare. How often had I faced hushed whispers and glances from others at the diner, pity mixed with a hint of judgment. As despair nestled in my chest, the door slowly creaked open. It was Mrs. Thompson, our neighbor. In that moment I half expected her usual critical gaze, but instead, I saw warmth and worry etched on her face. To my disbelief, she announced, "I'm organizing meals for you and Tyler. We all want to help." I blinked, still trapped in my own thoughts, but her words cut through my gloom. Could anyone care as much as she claimed? Before we continued, "I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." But just as rays of hope emerged, a familiar darkness settled over us. The nurse returned with more news that shook my insides. Tyler was facing a serious diagnosis. My heart sank. Would we lose everything we had fought for, every dream he held? Tyler's future, the thought echoed endlessly in my mind, clawing at my optimism. As I sat gripping his hand, I wondered, how far would I go for him? Time felt like an enemy as the clock ticked loudly in the quiet room. It was in that silence I confronted my fear. Would this fight bring our community together, offering us the compassion I yearned for? Or would the burden of our lives be too much to bear? The clock ticked louder now, colliding with my heartbeat. Each second felt like an eternity, and I was both there and not there, lost in the whirlwind of emotions while holding Tyler's fragile hand. My son, my light, was fighting a battle I had never prepared him for. Day turned into night and still I stayed by his side. The dim glow from the hallway seeped through the window, casting shadows across his pale face. I adjusted the blanket, tucking it under his chin as if I could blanket him in all the love I felt. My heart was heavy with fear and hope, both battling for dominance. As the night deepened, I found solace in routine. I listened to the sounds around us, the soft beeps of machines, the distant murmurs of nurses chatting, and the occasional cry of another patient. Each sound embodied the reality of where we were, a place paradoxically sterile yet teeming with life. But the reality of Tyler's situation gnawed at me. The doctor's words replayed in my mind. Serious diagnosis. We have to monitor him closely. How much closer could we get to the edge of hope before it all slipped away? Midnight rolled around, and exhaustion began to cloak me like a heavy blanket. I glanced at Tyler, imaging him vibrant and laughing, hair tousled as he chased after the dog in the yard. I wanted desperately to cling to that image instead of this one of wires and beeping machines. But even as I fought against despair, I felt something shift in the pit of my stomach. The door pushed open again, quiet but determined. I looked up and found Emily, my lifelong friend, her face etched with worry but also resolve. Without a word, she slipped into the room and took a seat beside me. "You're not alone, Sarah. We will figure this out together," she said softly, her voice a lifeline in this stormy sea. That familiar warmth spread through me, a reminder of the bonds we often took for granted through our day-to-day lives. "I don't know what to do," I confessed, my voice trembling. What if he doesn't make it?" The image of a world without Tyler was too painful to consider. Emily leaned closer, her eyes steady on mine. You fight for him, and we all fight with you. Just tell us what you need." The determination in her voice ignited something deep within me. Perhaps I had been too proud to lean on others. I thought of Mrs. Thompson, of all those glazed smiles from familiar faces. A community I had brushed past in the rush of life but hadn't truly seen. Did I have the strength to allow them in? Could I let them hold a piece of our burden? With a heavy heart but newfound resolve, I whispered, "I need help. I don't think I can do this alone." The admission felt like a weight lifted, the first step toward healing, not just for Tyler, but for myself as well. We sat there, hand in hand, strength in numbers, surrounded by the sterile silence of the hospital room. I could almost hear the whispers of the community rallying, ready to embrace us in our greatest hour of need. But the night stretched on, and with every passing hour, I couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was unfolding. Would the kindness of strangers become our lifeline? Or would it only highlight further hurdles we'd have to cross? A gust of wind rattled the window, sending shivers down my spine, and I found myself wondering, what would the next day bring? Would Tyler wake up? With my heart aching for answers, I realized we were on the precipice of change, not just for Tyler but for my life too. Would I have the courage to embrace it? The first light of dawn began to creep in, gently illuminating the edges of Tyler's hospital room. Pale rays filtered through the window, casting a soft glow over everything. For a moment, I held on to hope like a fragile butterfly cupped in my hands. Today could be different. Today Tyler might wake up. Emily had fallen asleep, but her hand remained firmly grasped in mine. The reassuring warmth of her presence anchored me. I took a deep breath, allowing the scent of antiseptic mingled with the faint hint of coffee from the hallway to fill my lungs. The world was waking up outside, but up here time felt suspended. As the minutes passed, I allowed myself to reflect on how far we had come. The fear that had gripped me just hours ago began to soften. I thought of the community that would rally around us, the friends and neighbors who would come together. It was a notion both comforting and terrifying. Would they be ready to see the raw, unfiltered version of our grief? A soft beeping broke the silence, snapping me back to the present. I leaned closer to Tyler, taking in the contours of his face, the soft rise and fall of his chest. His skin was still pale, but there was a quiet strength in his frailty. I whispered words of encouragement, as if my gentle voice could weave through the chaos within him. "You're brave, Ty. Fight for us. Fight for your dreams." Suddenly, the door swung open and Dr. Martin entered, his face a mask of professionalism, but I detected a hint of warmth in his eyes. He approached the bed, checking the monitors with swift precision, his experience clear in his every movement. "Morning, Sarah." He acknowledged me, glancing between Tyler and the chart in his hands. "How was the night?" I swallowed hard. "Yes, still the same, but I feel it. I just want him to wake up." Dr. Martin paused and met my gaze. "Sarah, I need you to hear me." His tone sharpened slightly. "This morning we'll be running more tests. His condition is serious, but we're doing everything we can. I believe in his strength. Keep believing." With every word, my heart raced. Could it be possible? Could Tyler defy the odds? As Dr. Martin continued talking about the procedures planned for the day, I noticed another flicker of motion out of the corner of my eye. I turned to see the door open again. This time, small figures shuffled inside. A handful of Tyler's classmates stood hesitantly in the doorway, their expressions a mix of hope and concern. I recognized them instantly. The faces were familiar but distant, reminders of the life Tyler lived outside this hospital facade. "Hey, Mrs. Campbell," little Sam stammered, stepping forward. We wanted to come see Tyler." I felt an unexpected warmth spread through me. How had I not considered this? They weren't just kids, they were his friends. They had shared laughter, secrets, and dreams. Their presence was a burst of life in the sterile room. And as they circled the bed, I sensed a shift in energy. "Tyler is going to be okay," I told them firmly, feeling my resolve strengthen. "He just needs to fight a little harder. Can you help me cheer him on?" With nods and wide eyes, they each leaned in close, whispering his name, recounting their favorite memories. I watched as they took turns holding his hand, imbuing him with their youthful spirit. Their innocence and belief stirred something deep within me. But as I watched their small gestures of love, a gnawing doubt crept in. What if it wasn't enough? What if he couldn't feel their presence? Would love alone be enough to pull him back from the edge? Just then, a tremor rippled through the room. I felt a shift, a tremor not just in the air but in my heart itself. Could this be it? Would today really be the day? As I loomed nervously at my son's face, the tension thickened. Was hope enough to break through the silence? With my heart pounding in my chest, I realized that in this moment everything was on the line. What if today became the day we'd all been waiting for? A moment of absolute stillness hung in the air, as if the world outside had paused, waiting with bated breath. I could see the gentle rise and fall of Tyler's chest, and the muffled voices of kids reminiscing about soccer games and birthday parties faded into a distant murmur. That same hope I had been holding on to now teetered on the edge of reality. "Mom, look," Emily whispered, her eyes wide, her voice barely above a breath. His fingers, they moved. I leaned closer, my heart racing. Tyler's fingers twitched, almost imperceptibly at first, but a clear indication. The energy in the room shifted once more. The kids leaned in, collectively gasping at the sight. "Tyler," Sam said, louder now, urgency lacing his voice. "Can you hear us? It's Sam. We're right here." Each word rang in the room like a melody, threading memories into the sterile air. I felt a glimmer of recognition sparkle in Tyler's face. His eyelids fluttered for the briefest moment. Was that a sign? Dr. Martin was quick to action, his eyes brightening. "Everyone step back a bit." He turned toward the monitors, adjusting the settings with steady hands. "Let us give him some space." "Wait!" I exclaimed before I could stop myself, my motherly instincts surging forth. "Don't go anywhere, kids. This might be the moment we've been waiting for." They huddled together, their eyes fixed on Tyler, waiting, timid but hopeful. With the doctor examining the readings, I leaned in closer to Tyler. "You're not alone, Ty. We're all right here. Just a little longer." I felt a weight pressing against my chest. This was the moment to let my love stream through. I squeezed his hand tighter, willing him to feel my presence. Time slowed down again. Only the beeping of the monitors filled the silence, punctuating our hopes. And then I saw a slight change in his expression. Was it a grimace? Or maybe recognition? "Come on, buddy," I murmured. "You know you've got a whole team cheering for you. Your friends are here. We all need you." A laborious breath escaped Tyler, and his shallow rise seemed to deepen just slightly. I felt a shift in the energy around us, a tiny flicker of strength emanating from where our hands intertwined. "Mom, look." Emily's excitement lit up the room as her eyes sparkled. He is trying to wake up. It was surreal. One moment I was holding on to the fear that had become a constant companion, and the next, I felt something new, the tangible strand of hope weaving through our gathering. It was small, but it was real. Dr. Martin moved swiftly now, adjusting various settings with practiced familiarity. "Okay, just keep talking to him. Let him hear your voices." The kids surrounded him in an impromptu circle of love, each taking turns to share their best memories. I listened as they spoke, their voices breaking up any lingering silence, filling the room with a warmth I had never expected. "I remember when you scored that goal at the tournament. You were so awesome. You made us all proud," shouted Jennifer. Tyler's heartbeat began to pick up on the monitor, a slight uptick that I clung to like a lifeline. More conversations unfolded, each one hanging in the air like a spell, binding us all together. But deep down I felt the doubt resurfacing. What if this fragile moment was fleeting? What if Tyler's response was just a flicker, soon to be extinguished? The anxiety gripped me, icy fingers wrapping around my heart. Dr. Martin cast a glance my way, sensing my unease. We can't measure hope, but it matters more than anything else. Keep it up, Sarah. Keep believing. Those words echoed in my mind as I turned back to the kids. Everyone, tell Tyler how much we love him. Let him feel it. They shouted, their voices rising in a chorus of love and longing. And then, as if the universe was answering our prayers, I saw a light flicker in Tyler's eyelids. Could this really be the awakening we had been praying for? As I held my breath, my heart racing, I couldn't help but wonder what would happen next. Would he come back to us? Would we get to share the moments we feared we lost forever? The room vibrated with the sound of our voices, each one tenuously tethered to hope. As I gazed at Tyler, my world narrowed to the rhythm of his breath. It was still so shallow, but it felt like a promise that whispered he was still there, somewhere within. Come on, Ty, I murmured, my voice a soft caress. You've always been the strongest of us all. I pressed my forehead against his hand, wishing he could feel the warmth radiating from my heart. Emily's voice rang out, recounting the day she lost a tooth, and Tyler had whispered excitedly that the tooth fairy would give her a bonus for bravery. I watched Tyler's face. For a brief moment, a flicker of a smile danced across his lips, a shadow of the boy I knew. My breath caught. Was it really happening? Okay, I'll remember that one, I chuckled through my tears, touching his cheek. My fingertips barely grazed his skin, but even that felt precious. Tyler had always loved the little jokes, the playful banter that defined our days. If this was helping him, I'd do it all night. The kids continued their nostalgic journey, each story wrapping around Tyler like a protective hug. Then Sam, with tears shimmering in his eyes, leaned closer and said, "Remember our camping trips? You always told the best ghost stories." He paused, hopeful. "We've got more adventures waiting for you, buddy." With each mention of his name, the beeping of the monitor seemed to echo our collective belief. But there was that nagging feeling beneath my heart's elation. What if he didn't wake up to join us? What if this was a farewell in disguise? I pushed the thought aside, focusing instead on the warmth blooming in the room. Suddenly, Tyler's eyelashes stirred again. "Tyler?" My voice wavered like a gentle breeze across the tender atmosphere. "Can you open your eyes for us? Just a little more." I was begging softly, holding back waves of emotions threatening to crash into me. Hours seemed to pass in the span of moments, the energy fluctuating like tides. I felt exhausted yet driven, a fierce determination igniting in me. I wasn't going to give up on him now. Then, out of nowhere, the room shifted. Tyler's fingers twitched again, more pronounced this time. "Mom," he murmured, fumbling like a distant echo. The way he said it shattered my heart and filled it simultaneously. There it was, the sound of my son's voice, raw and fragile. "Tyler, can you hear us?" I gasped, the words tumbling out like a prayer. The kids erupted into cheers, an explosion of hope flooding the room. Each face reflected a whirlwind of joy, disbelief, and a hint of fear. This was it, the turning point we had been longing for and dreaming of. Well, what happened? Tyler's voice was hoarse, each word fragile yet coherent. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My relief nearly knocked me off my feet. "It's okay, Ty. You were in an accident, but we're here and we love you," Emily chirped, her excitement spilling over. The reality was crashing down around me, a tide of emotions. I hugged his hand tightly, feeling the pulse of life beneath it. Sobs from the kids mixed with laughter as they shared amidst tears, their relief palpable. But even as joy surged through me, I felt a question push against the walls of my heart. How would he feel when he started to remember? What pieces of the life he left behind would he grasp? As I leaned down closer, my heart pounding, I whispered, "Just take it slow, sweetheart. We're right here." What would this awakening mean in the long run? Would it pull him back to us completely, or would shadows linger, reminders of the struggle to come? The sterile smell of the hospital engulfed us once more, familiar yet unnerving. I held Tyler's hand tighter, unwilling to let go of the moment. His eyes fluttered, scanning the room. I couldn't help but notice the subtle awe mirrored in his gaze as he absorbed the faces around him. My heart swelled with emotion, yet leaned towards fear. Was he truly back, or was this just a fragile echo of who he used to be? "Mom," he breathed again, the word curling around us like a warm blanket. Is it really you? Yes, honey, it's me, I replied, my voice steady but thick with tears. I fought to keep my composure, wanting to be his rock. You're safe now. We're all here. Tyler's brow knitted together, confusion wading into his eyes. What happened? His breath was shaky, each syllable emerging like he was breaking through a barrier of fog. An accident, sweetie. But you're a fighter. You've always been, I reassured him, brushing my fingers through his hair. I wanted to reassure him that he was still Tyler, still our Tyler, brave, spirited, and full of life. Emily squeezed in closer, her voice a soothing melody. Remember the fun we had at that park last summer? You and I raced to the swings. There it was again, that hint of a smile, a spark igniting in his tired eyes. I could almost feel the connection solidifying like threads in a tapestry. The room fell silent for a moment, as if everyone held their breath, hoping for another response. Tyler turned his head slightly, the lines of struggle still apparent on his face. I don't remember, I just saw black, he said haltingly. His admission sent a chill through me, a reminder of how close we had come to losing him entirely. It's okay, Ty. We'll help you remember, I promise. We'll make new memories together, I whispered, trying to infuse him with strength. But the uncertainty loomed like a heavy cloud. The beeping of the machines continued, creating a rhythm that matched the rapid beating of my heart. I could see the kids shifting uneasily, their spirits in flux, ready to burst forth with joy but tethered by the reality of Tyler's situation. Can you tell me a story? Tyler asked, his voice small but earnest. It was a request I couldn't resist, a chance to pull him back even further into the world. Of course. You remember that time we chased fireflies in the backyard? You caught the biggest one, I spoke animatedly, invoking laughter from everyone. Their eyes lit up as I recounted our adventures, each word painting a vivid picture, each laugh building a bridge back to what we had. But as I spoke, I felt a shadow creeping back into my heart. What if this was just a moment? What if he didn't remember the joy of chasing fireflies? Would he even want to come back to the life we shared? Before I could dwell too long on the thought, Tyler broke in softly. Those days, they were fun. Yes, they were. And we'll have new fun days too, I promise. I gripped his hand tighter, the connection rekindling hope. But deep down, I wondered just how deep his memory would reach when the reality of his accident settled further into his mind. Another moment passed, and I could see him slowly beginning to relax, his spirits lifting as the memories swirled around him. What do we do now? He asked, an inquisitive spark igniting in those beautiful eyes that I smiled, a reassuring warmth flooding through me. Now we take it one day at a time. Together. But would together ever feel truly whole again? As I watched my son, that question hung heavy in the air, waiting for answers that might prove both uplifting and heart-wrenching. What would the next steps look like as he began to heal? And would the path include every bright piece of him? Or would the shadows remain? The flickering fluorescent lights above cast a pale glow across Tyler's face, making it almost ethereal. In that moment he looked almost like the boy I remembered, not completely, but enough to ignite a flicker of hope within me. Can I see my room? Tyler asked suddenly, his voice now filled with a childlike curiosity. I want to see where I am. Of course, I replied, despite the tightness in my chest. I knew how disorienting it could be to wake up in a place so foreign. But it might be a little different than what you remember. It's been a while, you know? He nodded, his eyes wide and anxious. I could feel Emily beside me, her tension mirrored in the way she clutched her brother's leg affectionately, a silent promise of solidarity. Okay, let us go for a walk, I said, hoping to be comforting while also dreading the possible moments of confusion that might arise as he processed the reality around him. We moved slowly, the sound of our footsteps softened by the sterile tiles, the beeping machines almost a soundtrack to our unfolding story. I pushed the four-stand, a silent companion in this unexpected journey. Tyler's gaze darted around the hallway, absorbing the sights that seemed both intimidating and fascinating. This place is big, he murmured, his brow furrowing. Will I meet other kids? Absolutely, sweetie. There are lots of kids here, I reassured him, gauging his mood, eager to infuse our exploration with playful hopes. Some of them might even be racing you to the swings one day soon. He smiled faintly, but it didn't reach his eyes. I wondered what shadows danced in that blizzard of uncertainty. We glanced into rooms as we passed, catching glimpses of other patients. The laughter of children echoed in the distance. It was a stark reminder of everything we had come to cherish, and had teetered on the edge of loss. Mom? Tyler's voice brought me back to him, piercing through my thoughts. What if I don't get better? The tremor in his voice was palpable, a fear I had hoped to shield him from. Listen to me, Tyler, I said, kneeling so I could match his gaze. You are here, and that's the most important part. We're fighting this together, and fighting's what you've always been good at. I could see that spark dim slightly, but I needed him to feel the strength radiating from us. He simply nodded, his eyes searching mine, looking for a certainty I grappled to maintain. Behind us, Emily took a deep breath as if she too was fighting her own fears. Our footsteps brought us to a window, framing a view of the parking lot below. Blinking out at the world beyond, I could see the faded colors of trees lining the lot, a hint of autumn slowly painting them with warmth. It looks nice out there, he remarked, his voice small. It is, and soon you'll be out there too, I promised, gripping his hand tighter as if sealing our pact with the pressure of my palm. But I knew the truth was murky, and uncertainty clouded everything. Would he ever return to that joyful boy? Mom? He said again, this time more deliberately, as if he were gathering the courage to ask something significant. Yes, honey, I replied, my heart racing. What if I forget you? The question hung in the air, an echo of fear that rattled through my bones. Did I in that moment? I felt as if the world tilted. You won, Tyler, I said softly, masking my own rising doubts. No matter where you go, you'll always carry us with you in your heart. And we'll help you remember. He took a long pause, considering. Finally, he edged closer to me, resting his head on my shoulder. As I closed my eyes, I momentarily lost myself in the heartbeat of this moment, the warmth, the gentle vulnerability, the fierce love. Somewhere in that hospital, beyond room numbers, procedures, and machines, we were learning to trust. Trust not just in tomorrow but in each other. But what would our next steps look like, really? Would Tyler's fight be enough to reclaim the shadows threatening to shroud him again? I knew that this was just the beginning, and the battle wasn't over. The road ahead was still tangled, full of questions that waited beneath the surface. What would unfold when he was faced with what he had lost? And what memories would come rushing back, both beautiful and haunting? We stepped away from the window, my heart heavy yet resolute. Tyler took in the new surroundings, his small hand still tightly clasped in mine. His eyes danced like a moth, flitting from one detail to another, a mix of intrigue and fear on his face. Emily skipped ahead, her natural buoyancy breaking the tension. Look, Tyler. That's the playroom, she exclaimed, pointing at a door with bright colors painted all over it. I heard they have toys. We can play together. For a moment, Tyler's expression brightened at the thought, a glimmer of the boy he used to be sparking briefly. But it faded. Do you think they'll let me? His small voice quivered. Of course. They want you to play. I chimed in. You're a kid, and that means you belong there just like everyone else. As we kept walking, I noticed a family at the end of the hallway. They laughed together, their joy a stark contrast to our quiet tension. A little girl was being wheeled past in a bed, her tiny hand waving as her parents beamed down at her. It stung, a reminder of the new reality we were living in. Tyler's eyes followed the girl, curiosity mingled with unease. Mom. What's wrong with her? He asked, leaning on my shoulder. That I took a breath, searching for the right words. Sometimes kids get sick. But they're tough, we all are. The doctors are here to help. Just like you, she's going to be okay. He chewed his lower lip, a worried habit I recognized. The uncertainty of our situation weighed heavily, each word feeling like a fragile bridge over a chasm of fear. Can we go see her? He asked suddenly, determination seeping into his small voice. Absolutely, I replied, surprised at his sudden willingness. I hadn't anticipated him wanting to confront the reality of hospitalization so soon. Let us go say hi. With each step toward the family, emotions churned inside me. Was this a brave moment for him? Or was it too soon? Would it help him feel less alone, or only magnify his fears? As we reached them, the girl smiled shyly. Her hair was drawn back with a vibrant pink headband, her eyes sparkling despite the tubes connected to her. Hi, she said weakly, glancing from Tyler to Emily. Hi, Tyler replied softly, his nerves washing away a bit as he took in the girl's smile. What's your name? Lily, she grinned, her energy shining through, almost as if she was a sunbeam flickering amid the drab hospital backdrop. What's yours? Tyler. He answered, a little bounce in his step returning. Are you stuck here too? Yup, Lily nodded, her expression shifting slightly into something more solemn. But I get to color and play with my friends. It's not so bad. There was a mixture of pride and resilience in her voice that struck me. Wow, that sounds fun. Can I color too? Tyler asked, excitement bubbling back to the surface as he gripped Emily's hand tighter. Of course, Lily encouraged, her smile infectious. And you can make up a dragon too. I'm making one right now. As the conversation flowed, I felt a little lightness amidst the heaviness of our situation. Moments like these, however small, felt almost monumental. It was a connection, an act of defiance against the bleakness we faced every day. But just as we started to find a rhythm, I noticed my phone vibrating in my pocket. My heart raced as I fished it out, glancing quickly at the screen. It was a message from the doctor, urging me to come to the consultation room. Tyler, I said, hesitating just a moment, already sensing trouble ahead. I have to go talk to some doctors now, but I promise I'll be right back, okay? I could feel his small face fall, the shadows creeping back in. Will you come back? Promise? His voice was thick with worry. I promise, I said firmly, my grip on his hand lingering for just a moment more before I released him. As I turned to leave, I couldn't shake the feeling that this too was a test. A test of trust, of hope, and perhaps of what lay ahead. What was waiting for me in that consultation room? Would the news be the kind of setback we were bracing for? Or could we find a glimmer of light in this unfolding journey? The questions clawed at me as I walked away, leaving Tyler and Emily in that moment of tentative camaraderie, where joy and dread intertwined. The answers were coming, and I held my breath as I stepped into the unknown. The door to the consultation room felt heavy as I pushed it open. The smell of antiseptic was pervasive, a reminder of the world we were now entangled in. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed softly, casting a sterile glow over the faces of the doctors waiting for me. Their smiles, though masked and friendly, made my stomach turn. Thank you for coming, one of them said, motioning for me to take a seat. I sat down, clutching the edges of my chair, heart hammering in my chest. We have some test results we'd like to discuss with you, the other doctor began. She flipped through a folder, her brow furrowing as she read. Anxiety launched through me like an arrow. What did those words mean? We want to ensure you have all the information you need. I nodded, my throat dry, trying to quell the tide of dread rising within me. As words flowed, I barely registered them, screens filled with numbers and probabilities, terms thrown around like confetti, but none of it made sense. I focused on their expressions, desperately searching for a hint of reassurance or, at worst, containment of the worst-case scenario. After what felt like an eternity, one of the doctors leaned in, their voice softer. Your son is facing challenges, but we believe there's hope. With the right treatment, we can manage his condition. Hope. The word felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. But how do you hold on to hope when fear is such a relentless companion? Will he be okay? The question escaped my lips before I could stop it, the weight of it amplifying in the small room. The doctors exchanged glances, and my heart plummeted. We can't guarantee anything, one admitted gently. But we will do everything we can. No guarantees. The words hung heavy in the air, suffocating the flicker of hope. I bit back tears, imagining the colors of a dragon being painted by Tyler's small hands, the laughter of him and Lily filling the hospital room. I thought of his tentative yet brave spirit, and what would happen if it were threatened. As I left the room, the news weighed on me like a stone. I had to pull myself together for Tyler. He needed me more than ever, and the last thing I wanted was for my fears to reflect in his innocent eyes. When I finally returned to the playroom, the sun dipped low, casting a warm glow through the window. Emily was sitting beside Tyler, both deeply engrossed in what looked like a fierce battle between their crayon dragons. They giggled, their laughter spilling into the air like bubbles. It was too precious a moment to break. Hey, just checking in. How is the dragon battle going? I said, forcing a smile, my heart still racing from the conversation I'd just had. Tyler looked up, his face lighting up. Mom, I made one that flies super fast. He thrust his drawing towards me with pride. That's awesome, buddy. Dragons need to fly. I knelt down, taking in the colors of the paper they had worked on. They were a beautiful mess, vivid and chaotic, a reflection of pure childhood creativity. But guilt bubbled within me, stealing a bit of that lightness. How could I protect him when my own heart felt so heavy? In that moment I realized just how much I needed to be strong. Not just for me but for him. Tyler's innocence clashed with the reality we faced, and I couldn't let him bear the weight of it. Are you ready to play some more? I asked, wanting to draw his attention away from whatever shadows lurked in my eyes. Yeah, he cheered, pulling me in as Emily squealed with delight, invading my personal space with stickers and crayons. We played for a long while, enveloped in laughter and creativity, letting the worries fade into the background. But as our time in the playroom came to an end, I felt an urgent need to address something deeper. Tyler, I started, my heart racing once again. As the mood began to shift, what if I told you that dragons can be real? And sometimes they remind us to be brave even when we're scared? He frowned slightly, tilting his head. But how can they be real, Mom? I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of that moment press on me. Sometimes they come in forms we don't expect, in the way we fight for the ones we love. As those words tumbled into the open air, I realized there was a deeper story waiting to unfold. Would Tyler understand the battle ahead? Could we find the strength together to face whatever lay in our path? And just as confusion began to settle on his face, a sharp beeping sound rang through the hallways, and my heart skipped a beat. What now? What could possibly be waiting for us next? The sun broke through the clouds, casting soft light across the hospital room as I watched the morning unfold. Tyler lay there, alive and fighting. His breathing was steadier now, a rhythm I clung to like a lifeline. Today was a new day, not just for him but for the both of us. I remembered what Dr. Martin said. Hope matters more than anything else. That morning I resolved to hold on to every bit of that hope. As I watched him, I felt a surge of emotion rise in me. Tyler's friends were still quietly gathered around him, their eyes filled with anticipation. With a smile I nudged Emily. How about you guys share your favorite memories again? Tyler needs to hear all the fun things. The kids erupted with excitement, flooding the room with laughter and stories. Each tale was an anchor, pulling us back to the joyful moments that once defined our lives. I reveled in their spirits, soaking that contagious energy back into my weary heart. Remember when we built that giant fort in your living room? Emily recalled, her eyes shimmering with nostalgia. And you kept yelling that a dragon was gonna eat it. Tyler chimed in, his voice hoarse but clear. Laughter spilled from everyone, and for that moment, the gravity of our situation lifted, leaving only joy. As I witnessed Tyler begin to engage with his friends, that glimmer of the sun I loved so fiercely shimmered brightly. And just like that, I realized the power of this moment. Tyler wasn't just battling for his life. He was reclaiming it. Together we would navigate the uncertainty ahead, not just as mother and son, but as a family and community united. A knock interrupted our gathering, and Dr. Martin entered. One look at Tyler, and I could see the doctor's demeanor shift from professional to warm. I'm glad to see so much energy in here, he commented, taking a step closer to Tyler's bed. How are you feeling, buddy? Tyler took a breath. Like a dragon. Dr. Martin chuckled. But then his expression grew serious. That's what I like to hear. We're going to begin treatment soon, and it's vital you keep fighting just like you are now. The conversation flowed, the doctor explaining the next steps in plain language. Tyler listened intently, and I could see determination growing in his eyes. There was something empowering about being a fighter, and every word resonated with that strength. With hope swirling in our hearts, the kids promised to visit every day. As they left, I caught Tyler's gaze. You know you can count on us, right? I asked, my voice steady but filled with emotion. Yeah, Mom. I want to be okay. I will be. Those words wove through my heart like a golden thread, stitching together our promises to each other. I couldn't ignore the possibility that tomorrow might bring shadows back into our lives. But in this moment, I believed in our journey, the challenges and the triumphs. Days turned into weeks, and as Tyler faced his treatments, I shared each experience in the cafeteria, with the community, drawing strength from our shared laughter and tears. I began to see the people who had always been there, masked in kindness and support, craving to help us carry our burden. The day came when Tyler's laughter echoed in the hallways, a sound I cherished dearly. It was a reminder of resilience in the face of uncertainty. One afternoon, while the sun streamed through the windows, Tyler turned to me, his gaze resolute. "Mom, can we paint again? Like our dragons? Of course. Let us make them fly." And as we created, I felt no hesitation whispering to him, "Remember, sweetie, it's okay to be afraid. It's how we face it that makes us brave." Together we began crafting a world woven with dreams and imagination, filled with memories of what was, what is, and everything yet to be. By the time spring peeked through, Tyler was stronger. With each step forward, I learned to embrace the kindness of others and acknowledge my own vulnerability. On a sunny afternoon, Tyler looked up and asked, "What's next, Mom?" I smiled at him, pride swelling in my heart. "Whatever we dream up, sweetheart. Together." With a promise of brighter days ahead, I realized that even amidst uncertainty, hope and love would guide us. As we held hands, I knew we'd never walk this path alone. And as the warmth of the sun settled over us, I whispered, "We are warriors, and together, we can overcome anything." Join us, my friends. You need to subscribe now and dive into more heartwarming journeys. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button now to fuel our channel. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about Tyler's incredible fight. And don't wait not even one more second, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us stand together in this journey.